Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Star Wars reflection. Star Wars, we're going to reflect Star Wars.
Wars.
Teal.
Yeah.
We're going to be reflecting on not Episode 8, but Rogue One, a Star Wars story. The first of however many spin off movies that Disney want to make of Star Wars. Directed by Gareth Edwards, released about a month ago, or last year, or Christmas, or whenever you want to say it. I'm joined today with Alan Caylow. I was meant to be joined by two others, but they haven't replied to me, so they may dip in and out. We shall see. But for the moment, it's just me and Alan. So, Alan, seeing as you're the only guest here today, what would you like to say about Rogue One, a Star Wars story?
Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Oh, sorry. Before you go any further, let me just correct myself. I was going to say very briefly, we want to also, first of all, dedicate this to Carrie Fisher and give a special mention to her and her mother. It's truly, truly awful what's happened. I mean, I just can't believe it, really. I cannot believe it. I don't know about you, but it's devastating. Really is.
Yeah. It is. It still doesn't compute that she's gone. I mean, she was our princess. She was our Princess Leia. And she was only 60. 60 is too young to die. And then her mother, Debbie Reynolds, dies the very next day, which I guess only goes to show you what a incredible bond, those two had as mother and daughter. They were bonded together in life, and now they're bonded together in death, and we will definitely miss them both. Absolutely. And like I said, I mean, Carrie Fisher, I think I speak for a lot of Star Wars fans when I said, she was definitely a part of my childhood. I mean, I was only 8 years old when the first Star Wars movie came out. I definitely had a crush on her back in the day, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I mean, it was a very, very lovely woman. And of course, who can forget the image of her in the gold bikini in Return of the Jedi? But not that. I mean, she was a very elegant lady, a very talented actress. I haven't seen all of her other films, but I definitely saw her in The Blues Brothers. I definitely saw her in When Harry Met Sally. And she was definitely a very, very talented lady. She wasn't without her problems. I mean, she dealt with drugs, and she admitted that she suffered from being bipolar. But all of her talents definitely shone through. She is our beloved Princess Leia. I did watch Episode 4, A New Hope, a few days ago.
I watched it over Christmas as well.
I definitely plan on watching Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens as well once I get the time. But at the very least, I really, really, really wanted to watch that original Star Wars movie in tribute to Carrie.
And also Rogue One, as you said, you're going to see it again as well. And if you know the end of this movie, then you know that there is a certain feature. I won't go into spoilers, but yeah.
Yes, exactly. But at the very least, I wanted to watch A New Hope again, and I watched it again. And you watch Carrie Fisher as Leia, and she's just so full of life and so full of energy, and you just think to yourself, how can she be dead? She can't be, but she is, and it's sad, it's tragic, and also she was the youngest of the main trio of Luke, Leia, and Han. Carrie, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford. So for her to be the first one to go was doubly shocking. And it makes me angry too, because after we got the news that she'd had the heart attack on the plane, and they got her to the hospital. I mean, they said she was in stable condition. But I guess stable doesn't mean woods. It just means that she hasn't died yet. I guess that's all stable condition.
So stable really means essentially, just barely holding on. So she's still breathing, but she's not really. Half conscious or something.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess that's really all stable condition means now. So I definitely learned a sad lesson uh, about the profession when they use the term stable condition. But anyway, just to wrap up my feelings, I mean, I absolutely loved and adored her as Princess Leia, and I definitely admired her talents as an actress. And also, it has to be said, yes, of course, she also was very successful as an author. You know, writing Postcards from the Edge, which of course was adapted into a movie, and the other novels that she wrote. So she was a woman of many talents, and I'm definitely going to miss her. I still feel her loss tremendously, and I will also say how sad I am about the loss of her very talented mother, Debbie Reynolds.
Yes.
Although I think the only movie of Debbie Reynolds I've seen was Singing in the Rain, which was the big movie that made her a big star. But there's no denying how superbly talented Debbie Reynolds was. There's no denying what a fabulous mother that she was, to be so close to Carrie and also to their son Todd Fisher. My heart goes out to Todd Fisher. My heart goes out to Billie Lourd, the daughter of Carrie Fisher and granddaughter of Debbie Reynolds, for their loss, as well as Carrie Fisher's two half sisters. So it's a terrible loss, but you know, at least Carrie and her mother Debbie are together again.
Yeah, and we will get to see Carrie Fisher in her final performance as Princess Leia this Christmas in Star Wars Episode 8.
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned that. That yes, Carrie Fisher did live to shoot all of her scenes for Episode 8, but the $1 million question is what they're going to do with Leia for Episode 9. I think the main talk that's going on right now, and I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but I think it would make sense, if it's possible, to give Carrie Fisher and give Princess Leia, or General Leia, as she became in The Force Awakens, to give her the proper send-off that she deserves. I don't think doing a CGI General Leia would be the right way to go.
I think it would be disrespectful as well.
Yeah. So many people have said online that probably the best way to go about it would be to begin Episode 9 with General Leia's funeral and just give her the best, most loving send-off that you can give her at the top of the movie, Episode 9, and then from there they can carry on with Episode 9.
It's funny you should say that, because sorry to interrupt you. It's funny you should say that. I was talking to some friends the other day about this, and I said to them, well, maybe if they can't show her doing this because it wouldn't be right, but they kind of like what you said, in the sense that Leia could have maybe died of old age or something, or from the heartbreak of losing Han, or maybe something happens in Episode 8, and maybe they'll use that as a starting point for Episode 9. But I reckon they'll have to write her out somehow. They'll have to say they can't just not have her there they can't just say, oh, she's gone away for no reason. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
You have to kind of be respectful and say, okay, well, if she's died in real life, so we will honor that in the film. We'll have like a funeral, which I think would be nice for the Star Wars fans as well, because well, like yourself, they've grown up with her since A New Hope, and it would be really nice to sort of see. And also, if Luke is going to be more involved in the story as well, this is his sister as well, so it will make Episode 9 a bit more emotional. I know that's kind of not the right thing to say, but if you know what I mean, in the context of the film, they'll just have to do kind of like what they did with Padme, have like a procession. The Resistance will have some kind of memorial for her, and they'll probably, like say, they'll probably do it at the beginning, and then that will be it. It will be like, we'll homage her legacy, and then we'll get on with the story. So it will probably be something like that. If they just don't have her in there and they don't explain it, I'll be really annoyed and disappointed. But I don't think that'll happen. I think they've got a bit more sense than that. But again, like watching episode 8 is going to be really difficult for a lot of people.
It is, because yeah, it's going to be our last time seeing her as Leia. It's also her last film as well. So I expect that I am definitely going to get a bit misty-eyed when I see her on screen as Leia for the last time. But
I think every fan will stay to the credits just to see in memory of Carrie Fisher. You have to put that in there. Clearly.
oh, of course.
I mean, I believe they're still in post production for episode 8, so I imagine they'll do that. They'll just stick that at the end, and they'll do that because although then again, Kenny Baker has passed away as well, so they'll probably dedicate it to him as well. But
yes, and then they should. Yeah, Kenny Baker, who was inside R2D2 in the classic trilogy, and for some parts of the prequels as well. Yeah, yes, he should be honored as well. I agree. Good old Kenny Baker.
Yeah, I mean, on a final note, I just find it even more tragic the fact that her mother, Debbie Reynolds, only a few hours or not long after she died. Apparently she died of a broken heart. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? But
yeah. I mean that's how strong a bond those two had. I mean they lived next door to each other. That's how strong their bond was. And again, I've been watching some interview clips on YouTube, and Carrie's two half sisters, Jolie, and I'm sorry, I forget the name of the other half sister. My apologies, but Jolie and the other one, they were saying that that if Carrie didn't survive, their mother wouldn't survive either. That Debbie Reynolds would not want to go on without Carrie. I mean, it's already the most terrible nightmare a parent can have to bury their child.
Yes.
To show you just how super strong their bond was, Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, as mother-daughter, and that if Carrie didn't survive, Debbie wasn't going to survive either. And that's what Todd Fisher, the son, has been saying in interviews, that even though his mother was more or less holding it together as best as she could, and she did leave one final message for Carrie's fans on Facebook, like mere hours before she died. She did say to Todd at some point, I miss Carrie so much. I want to be with Carrie. And like minutes later, she had a stroke, and she died. That was it.
Yeah, I mean, apparently she had been ill for quite some time, but I think all of that emotional upset, especially as if she was so close to her daughter, I can see how it would have caused caused that. But I suppose, in a way, it's better. I mean, it's not good that anyone dies, but I'm just saying it's probably better that they both went out together. They're both happy. They can both be with each other from now on. I mean, and I'm sure the family understand that. But for the ones that still remain, to lose a mother and a sister at the same time as well.
Right.
I just can't begin to imagine how that feels. But I mean,
sure. And for Billie Lourd to lose both her mother and her grandmother, I mean, that's just beyond devastating. You can just imagine.
But on a more positive note, we can safely say this, that we will see Carrie Fisher one last time in episode 8, and she did leave a humongous legacy behind her, and I'm sure Debbie Reynolds did as well. She had a I'm not aware of it as much, of course, because I wasn't around at the time, but I hear that Debbie Reynolds, obviously you've just mentioned Singing in the Rain, so I might watch that, and I've seen the musical on stage, so I might watch the DVD of it and see how it compares to and watch it for Debbie Reynolds. But no, I mean Carrie Fisher and her family and her mother, I mean they were wonderful, and on a final note, we'll honor their memories, and the ending of Rogue One is that much more sentimental now.
I agree, absolutely.
Yeah, but anyway, let's get on to the positive stuff. Let's move on to the film. So, in the absence of great friends, I turn to Alan. Alan, seeing as you are the only guest, would you like to share your thoughts on Rogue One, a Star Wars story?
Sure thing. We should probably also say that we are going to go into spoiler territory with this hangout.
Yes.
So if you haven't seen Rogue One yet, you should probably go see it before you listen any further to our chit chat, because there
Well,
will be spoilers.
yeah, unless you don't give a shit about spoilers, in which case, welcome aboard.
Right.
Okay. And if you have seen the movie, obviously, welcome aboard.
Right.
After you.
Okay. Well. Okay. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, or some fans say Star Wars Rogue One. Either way is fine. Although the official title is Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Yeah. This is a very unique Star Wars film. This is the first Star Wars standalone movie that has been made. I mean, it is essentially a prequel. It takes place literally just before the events of Episode 4, A New Hope. So you could refer to Rogue One as Episode 3.5 or even 3.9, since it's literally right up against A New Hope.
I think in the review you mentioned it being Episode 3 3/4.
Or 3 3/4, yes. That would also qualify. And describing the plot of the movie is very, very simple. This is the movie that tells the story of how the rebels stole the plans to the Death Star. And it's based on that little bit of text that we see in the opening crawl of A New Hope that basically says the rebels have just stolen the plans to the Death Star. And speaking for myself as a longtime Star Wars fan, I personally have always been curious about how the rebels actually managed to steal the Death Star plans. We've never seen it before.
Because basically George Lucas just decided to throw us into the action, and he didn't really show us the exposition, which is obviously this movie, Rogue One. So again, like you say, it was a curiosity, and I mean, little did we know that the huge price that was paid to get these fucking plans,
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it was something that had always been a curiosity for me, and I wonder if it had always been a curiosity for other fans too. But yes, I certainly wanted to know all these years, how exactly did they steal those plans? Who stole them? How did they steal them? And how big a price did they pay to steal them? So Rogue One is the movie that finally answers these questions about who stole the plans, how they did it, and how big a price they paid. And I'm also happy to say that Rogue One also answers the question about that darn exhaust port on the Death Star.
Oh, yes.
Because I know a lot of fans have said, the fact that the Death Star could be blown up just by firing a shot down the exhaust port, how could the Empire have been so stupid to have built the exhaust port?
Oh, yeah, and, God bless you, Gareth Edwards. And also, it answers the big thing that fans had. At the end of Revenge of the Sith, you see the Death Star being built, and then they're like, oh, it takes 20 years to build the Death Star. When it's like, when this movie answers that as well, it's like, no, it doesn't take 20 years. The Death Star is fully fledged. It's obviously recently just been done, so it does take them nearly 20 years. But I mean, it again answers that question. It's not like, I think that's another nitpick that fans seem to have. I don't see it personally. I don't see an issue with it. It's just a humongous space moon, and we know now what it took to get it made. Because obviously Mads Mikkelsen's character was forced to make it out, not of his own free will. So,
right,
fans, please just shut the fuck up. No offense.
Yeah, seriously. I'm happy to say that more than enough Star Wars fans have enjoyed the movie and have taken it to their hearts, which makes me feel good. But yeah, there've been a select number of fans who've been very mean to Rogue One, and those are the fans I like to say, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of opinion, of course. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But like I said, I am a little pissed off at that certain number of fans who didn't like the movie. But anyway, I'm happy most fans seems to have enjoyed it. Anyway, I for one definitely enjoyed Rogue One a lot. This movie surprised me a great deal. I was very curious how they were going to do it. Would this standalone concept work? And would this movie, I mean, would this story about how the Death Star plans were stolen come together? Especially when
Here's
you
a
consider
Star
the
Wars story.
Star Wars story. Yeah, but especially when you consider the fact that most of the characters are brand new, and as it turns out, they are basically one-off characters. We're not going to be seeing them again. So this is their one and only moment to shine in the Star Wars universe. And so they
Unless they make a prequel, which I highly doubt.
yeah, unless they make a prequel. So they really need to make their golden count. They really need to make it count. And man, they did. As far as I'm concerned, they really did. They rose to the challenge, and they made a terrific Star Wars prequel. And I agree, it is the best Star Wars prequel that's been made. It has easily trounced the prequel trilogy. Sorry, George. But
yeah, even though Revenge of the Sith wasn't bad, it still wasn't as good as Rogue One.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith was certainly watchable. It's definitely the watchable of the three prequels. I'll give it that. But it still had its share of bad writing and some bad pacing issues.
Anakin by the lake.
Yeah, and apparently when women get pregnant in the Star Wars universe, they carry to term within a matter of weeks.
Well, unless you went through some kind of selective breeding, you know.
I guess because from the moment Padme says I'm pregnant, she gives birth like what, two weeks later.
Well, I don't know. I'd like to think that Obi-Wan and Anakin have been away for a long time, like in the space of like what, 8 months, you know, and then, you know, obviously because he does strangle her near the end, and then she falls over, so that's likely to trigger the babies coming earlier. And I don't think she fell pregnant literally when he came back. I think she fell pregnant before, but obviously that was when he came back, so she only told him then. I like to think it that way, but I can understand your frustration. It is annoying. George Lucas doesn't understand pregnancies either, so.
I suppose so. Yeah, I'd agree. I would definitely agree, man. But yeah, Rogue One, it's definitely the best of the prequels because it's the best written, it's the best directed, it's the best acted, and it tells a much more compelling story.
And it doesn't have racist stereotypes like Jar Jar Binks.
Exactly. And I do happen to like these characters. I mean, obviously, the leader of the Rogue One team is Jyn Erso, played by Felicity Jones. She's definitely the most. She's the best drawn out of the characters. She's the best written of the characters. And I did think Felicity Jones did a wonderful job here. I do think that her performance is worthy of an Oscar nomination, but I have a feeling she won't get it for the simple reason that she's starring in a Star Wars movie. So the Academy will probably overlook her for that reason alone. But I really do think she's that good. And I really do think that she really is that compelling in the part of Jyn Erso, the girl who is destined to lead the team that steals the Death Star plans.
I kind of like that it's a woman. You know, it just changes it up a bit, and I think it works in this case. The fact that, you know, he's, you know, that it's her father that's involved in all of this, and she gets caught up. You know, it's, you know, I like the point that, you know, if it was George Lucas directing it, it would have been a guy. I mean, so obviously, but she is a strong character, and she's seen a lot in her life, so she's been kind of raised very, like, obviously by Forrest Whitaker's character, so she's seen a lot and she's been through a lot, so she's a tougher broad, I think, than say Rey or anyone else like that. So, and you know, she's not so generic, like they don't sexualize her at all. She's just generally just a strong character. So, you know, I give props to Gareth Edwards and Felicity Jones for that, and whoever wrote the movie as well. They, you know, they made a great character, and it's a shame really when she meets her fate, should we say?
Right.
Along
right. Yeah, and it's interesting to note. I mean, I do think that for this one movie, she's an excellent character, but obviously her path is a very different one from, say, Rey from the Skywalker episodic So sadly, this is going to be Jyn Erso's one and only film, unless they decide to make a prequel. And if you think about it, she really is the one and only person from the Rogue One team that they could possibly do a prequel with.
Yeah, but having said that, making a prequel really is pointless because you've seen her childhood, like all the important bits anyway. So there's really no need to make another 2-hour film about baby Jyn Erso growing up, and we've pretty much seen her life, really.
Well, actually, I was thinking about that myself, and I'm thinking if they were to do a prequel, as I understand it, Felicity Jones, in her Star Wars contract, they've left the door open for a prequel film about her, which is not to say they'll actually make a prequel, but they might take up the option. I was thinking, there is that jump cut early on in Rogue One where she goes, we see her as a child, and then we see her grown up, and she's already in jail. I think if you were to make a prequel film of Jyn Erso, you would probably want to focus on the events of her as a young woman, and what led her to being in that jail cell.
Yeah.
That's probably what you could base a prequel film on Jyn Erso about. You're absolutely right. We've probably seen enough of her in Rogue One as a child, but there is that big gap of time where what led Jyn Erso to being in that jail cell when we see her next, and you could probably base a prequel film around that part of Jyn Erso's life. But like I said, nothing's written in stone. They may never do a prequel film.
Yeah.
But
I mean, also, like, if you think about it, I think it's like 20 years or something that goes by in between the opening and then after the titles. So I suppose that big gap you could also see more of the struggle with Galen, her father, and Orson Krennic. So maybe we could see more of the Empire. So like Galen and Krennic's struggle to build the Death Star, like the actual, because in Rogue One the Death Star's already established. We don't actually see it being built.
Right.
Because the only time we do actually see it being built is Revenge of the Sith. But then again, like in the opening scene, did they mention that the star is built, or is it still in progress, or is that just when they're capturing him to build it?
I guess they're still in the process of building it. I'm going to take a guess that when Krennic comes to collect Jyn Erso's father, Galen, and he says to Galen, the work has stalled. We need you. Maybe at that moment in time, the Death Star, the original Death Star, pretty much resembles what the second Death Star looked like in Return of the Jedi. Partially built, but not completely.
Yeah, that's true.
That's probably what the original Death Star looked like at that moment in time in the story.
Unless it comes, it wouldn't come directly after Revenge of the Sith. I can imagine it would come maybe at least about 5 or 6 years after that. So around then.
Yes, that's what I would assume as well. Yeah. But anyway, getting back to the Rogue One characters, I mean, Jyn Erso, I think she's a marvelous character. But I think all the other supporting characters are written well enough. Again, the fact that this was going to be their only movie, because let's face it, you really couldn't make a prequel film based on any of the other people in the Rogue One team. So this is going to be their one and only film. But for this one movie, I think they're written well enough as one movie characters, as one-off characters. And I think, that they're all likable enough. And when they meet their fate, when they all meet their fate at the end, I mean, I cared about them, and I was sad to see them go. I wasn't like, I don't give a shit. No, I did give a shit when they
even though the characters, most of them aren't really developed as well as they could be, I thought there was still enough impact, and I was genuinely surprised when all of them died. I thought, okay, maybe some of them will probably die, but like I didn't expect all of them to go. I mean, blimey, that was quite a surprise, and it was very moving the way it was done as well. Like it's like they knew. It was very bittersweet, especially Jyn and Cassian when they were going to the beach. You could feel like, okay, they know that they're gonna die, but they've set the rebels on a good path to destroying the Empire. So they knew
Right.
that their sacrifice wouldn't be in vain, like you said in your review. So
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that that's the big test. I mean, when they all die, I mean, do do you care? And my response is yes, I do. You know, I did care about these characters. So although the argument can be made forever that maybe if this film had been like 15 or 20 minutes longer, these characters could have been developed better. Again, I think they're developed enough. They're developed good enough, and I'm happy with the characters as they are. Even though I admit I would have liked to have gotten to know them a little bit better, but as they are, I like them. And when they died, I cared about them, and I was sad to see them go.
like at least like I think two of them at least get blown up, like very suddenly as well. The pilot gets blown up as well.
I know. I mean, that's another thing about Rogue One we need to mention. I mean, this is a very gritty Star Wars movie. This is definitely, as other people have said, this is a Star Wars movie that really brings the wars element to Star Wars, which is not to say we don't see wars in the other films. Of course we do. But I'm saying this is like ground battle, Saving Private Ryan kind of stuff. The fact is we only see one single lightsaber in the movie, and that's saved to the end when Darth Vader pulls out his lightsaber. Until then, it's ground battles, laser gun battles, and aerial battles with the fighters. So it's definitely like a World War II movie set in the Star Wars.
Right, yeah. Because I think if they had Vader going down onto the battlefield with his lightsaber, it wouldn't have had the same impact. Like they didn't. I think in this case, less lightsabers was good. I think having it solely about the rebels was appropriate as the story is, and then having that bit with Vader at the end, it's just such a great surprise. So I think that was great that they saved that until the end. That he didn't get his lightsaber out when Krennic came to see him on Mustafar. So I think it's Mustafar anyway.
No, I agree. Yeah, the volcano planet. Yeah. So that's another thing that I really appreciate about this movie. Some fans might have been turned off by the grittiness of it, but I really appreciated it. I really enjoyed it and thought that it was really well done. And again, I tip my hat to Gareth Edwards in the director's chair, how he put this whole thing together. I have not seen the other films he directed. I did not see the Godzilla film, although I heard nothing but bad things about it from you and from other folks.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. It was really well. It was just boring. Like I could see what he was trying to do, but for me, it didn't work. I mean, some people liked it, which is fair enough, but I thought it was too slow. But I thought he really outdid himself here. And I hope we've got to get him to direct another Star Wars movie because he did really well. You can tell that there's a love there, there's a passion there, and so much respect for the original film, unlike the prequels. George,
right? Exactly. I mean, Gareth Edwards, I think he really knew what he was doing, and again, I saw some interview footage of him while he was on the set of Rogue One, and he was saying, we have to bring something new to the table with this film, otherwise, what's the point in making it? So he and his team really rose to the challenge, and gave us a really solid, highly enjoyable prequel film that links perfectly with A New Hope. Again, I enjoyed the cast and the characters. I'll also give props to Diego Luna as Captain Andor. I liked him very much. I thought, let's see, if I can remember his name right, Donnie Yen as the guy who really truly believes in the Force, and he's got great martial arts abilities.
I believe his name is Chirrut Imwe. I think that's the character's name.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Some of the characters' names I don't know so well. I'm sorry, but
no, it's fine. I didn't know the big guy with the big gun. I didn't know who he was. Like, I don't know his name. I think it's like Baze or something like that, but they never really mention his name. So.
Right. I don't remember the actor's name who was with the gun, but he plays Donnie Yen's best friend. Still, I liked him. I thought he was very good. and of course Donnie Yen, fabulous martial artist, and great to see him fighting with his big.
Oh, we have to mention the part when when they blindfold them, and then he says his like one-liner. Are you kidding me? I'm blind.
Right.
I thought that was funny.
Oh yes, and of course we have to make mention that we now have another famous Star Wars line, courtesy of Donnie Yen. I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
In case you didn't hear it, I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
That's right. That's right. And the next time when you watch A New Hope and you see C-3PO and R2-D2 quickly run down the hallway and avoid all those lasers, you can think 3PO is thinking to himself, I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
Shut up, R2. I'm one with the Force.
Yeah.
And droids actually use the Force.
Yeah, really. But anyway, yes, Donnie Yen, I liked him. Again, I'm sorry I don't remember the name of the actor who plays his best friend, but I liked him, the one with the gun, who has great skills with the gun. I liked him. I liked the actor who played the pilot who defected from the Empire to join the Rebels, and he winds up being the pilot on the Rogue One team. I thought he was very good. And of course, we also have to make mention of that wonderful robot, K2SO. Do I have the name of the robot right?
Yeah, K2SO. Yeah.
Yeah, K2, like the mountain. K2SO.
Yeah.
He's great. He's voiced by Alan Tudyk, and he's a big, tall, very funny, very humorous robot. And
it's a fresh one if you mouth off again.
Yes, I also like that he's a robot who tells it exactly like it is, and he says exactly what's on his mind. He doesn't hold anything back, his thoughts. But he's also very funny. I mean, he was definitely there to supply, some of the comedy elements of the film. But
I think that's what people overlook as well. Like the people who hate this movie, they're always so dark and depressing. It's like, well, you have K2SO. They have tried to inject a bit of charm in there. It's not completely dark and dreary. It is a Star Wars movie. It's not without its charm, and some people overlook that.
That's right. That's right. And then he's a marvelous character. And again, I really liked Alan Tudyk's voice work, doing the voice of K2. So he's a great character. But man, oh man, I was really sad to see him go.
He was the first one as well. He was the first one to go, I believe.
Yeah, he was the first one to go, but he goes very heroically and saves his friends. But definitely when he goes, you know that's a bad sign, that it's probably not going to be good for the Rogue One team, that they're probably not going to make it. But yeah, I really felt it. I mean, and he's not a real human being. He's a robot. But I tell you, when he went, I mean, I was so sad. So that goes to show you that he's a really strong character in this film. So I liked him very much. Also have to make mention of Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera, who wound raising Jyn Erso. Now, some people thought that he overacted in the movie, but his character is a very outlandish character, as I understand it.
The only thing I didn't get was the voice. What was with the voice? It was like, Jyn, look, it just sounded like he was like completely asthmatic. Like, save the rebellion, save the dream. Yeah. I mean, he did have like a breathing apparatus attached to him, but even so, I was like, I think maybe I'd have to agree with them that maybe he was a little bit over the top. But to be honest, he's only in the film for about 10 minutes, so he doesn't get much to do.
Yeah, but anyway, you have to remember he does have that inhaler device strapped to his costume. So he does have some kind of breathing problem, I guess.
I can run no longer.
But like I said, as I understand it, his character is a very outlandish character. His character, I guess, was based on the Clone Wars cartoon, which I've never seen, by the way. But apparently, Saw Gerrera's in the Clone Wars cartoon.
I've only seen the film. And some of the episodes. I haven't watched all of them, so I don't know whether I want to watch them, to be honest.
Yeah. But anyway, that's where Saw Gerrera comes from. But it was nice to see Forrest Whitaker up on the screen for a few minutes, and the fact that he's playing this half man, half machine who's missing some parts, and he has some robotic parts to help him walk.
That's one other thing I want to mention about the movie. Like, I felt like at the first time we saw Gerrera, it was very misleading because he was interrogating the pilot, and it felt like he was a villain. I was like, oh, hang on a minute, what's what? But then obviously he reveals himself as he's a good guy. Like he's Jin's sort of surrogate father. But I thought
Yeah.
that scene earlier when the octopus thingy was trying to go into the pilot, I thought this is really creepy. I thought Krennic was the villain, not Saw Gerrera. But I mean, was that just me, or did you get that same feeling? Like,
Well, you know, they describe Saw Gerrera. I think it was the character of Mon Mothma. Uh, but by the way, the actress they got to play the younger Mon Mothma is a wonderful actress, and she's a dead ringer for the original Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi. But anyway, I think she describes Saw Gerrera as an extremist.
yes.
So yeah, so that explains why Saw Gerrera's behavior is the way it is. That he's an extremist, as he's called. But and by the way, the scene with that octopus creature, some people really don't like that scene because they figure, what was the point of the octopus creature, that you didn't really need it. But you know, I've seen the film several times now, and while there's no denying that they could have done the scene perfectly fine without the octopus creature, you know, I didn't mind it. I mean, it looks cool. It looks pretty cool.
If you think about it, it probably was necessary because Saw Gerrera is a disfigured human being. He's half man, half machine, and he's on a walking stick. He's hobbling around. He's not going to look very intimidating, is he? If he just goes up to the pilot and goes, "You are lying! I know you're lying!" Like, or something like that. I don't know. Like it wouldn't be the same. Like I think he calls it portcullet or something. Like portcullet knows the truth. Like I mean, the fact he was standing there watching it, I think you could see the pilot shitting himself. Like, I mean, even though you can tell, like, there are some obvious CGI shots, but at least it's only used when necessary, unlike the prequel trilogy. George.
Yeah, right. So maybe it was necessary for Saw Gerrera to have like a monster creature to help interrogate the pilot with, right? That would make sense for his character.
I mean, that's what I thought, but I mean, it's again, opinions are opinions. If you feel differently, that's fine. I mean, he's not on screen long enough, really, for me to sort of, you know, get an impression of him. So he's just kind of there, like
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mind the octopus creature at all, really. As I said, I've seen the movie a few times now, and the octopus creature doesn't bother me. But I can understand how some other people might think, you know, what the hell is this?
She ain't a wussy, that octopusy.
Octopusy. Yeah. But for the record, I didn't mind the octopus creature. I thought it was fine. On screen. Let's see. We also have to make mention, of course, of the one and only Mads Mikkelsen as Galen Erso, Jalen's father. And I have to say how cool it was to see Mads Mikkelsen playing a good guy for a change, because he's mostly known for playing villains.
Yeah.
Here he's playing a good guy. And yes, he's Galen Erso. He's Jyn Erso's father. And he's the man who was basically forced against his will, really, to work with the Empire and help them build the Death Star. So his character is very important in the story. I really enjoyed the father-daughter relationship that we get to see in the film, what we get to see of it.
Yeah, because he's only in a few scenes and then he dies.
Yeah, but still, what we get to see of it, I think, is very good, very touching. I like how he calls his daughter Stardust.
Yeah, I thought that was really sweet.
And that one scene, and it turns out, folks, again, we're in spoiler territory, so don't say we didn't warn you. But the movie finally explains that Galen Erso, since he was forced against his will to work with the Empire on the Death Star, Galen Erso deliberately put in the exhaust port as a weakness in the Death Star, so the rebels could eventually find it and blow up the Death Star with it. So it was put in deliberately by Galen Erso. So I thought that was a really cool revelation for the film. And that one scene where Saw Gerrera shows Jyn a holographic message from her father Galen, explaining this to her and telling her in this message how much he misses her, and telling her about, you know, I've set a trap for the Empire. You know, the exhaust port, one shot through the exhaust port will bring the whole system down. and just saying how much he misses his little Stardust, his daughter, and
Oh,
see the expression on Jyn Erso's face, and you can see the tears coming down her face. I just thought that scene was really, really well done.
it was very moving. I must, and the music by Michael Giacchino was great. I mean,
Yeah.
I think when you say she deserves an Oscar, that is one scene as a prime example. She, Jin, she can tell she misses her dad. So I mean,
Yeah,
oh.
that's right.
That's
That's
one thing
right.
Star Wars does really well. It brings it has a lot of family dilemmas, and it deals with them rather well. I think no exception for Rogue One as well.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, it's a very touching scene, and again, you got really powerful performances here. I wouldn't have minded seeing more, father-daughter scenes with Jyn and Galen, but
Yeah.
what we do get to see of them is very touching.
I think it was pointless really to have the mother there. I mean, she's kind of wasted really. Like I think they killed her a bit too early, to be honest. But that's me.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with that. She's not there for very long, and she disappears early. I mean, she's killed off very early in the film. And yeah, more could have been done with her. I would have liked to have seen more of Jin's mother. Yes,
I mean, personally, sorry, I keep interrupting you. I think what they could have done is maybe they could have taken both of them, and they could have I mean, it might have been quite dark, but they could have captured her, and maybe Vader could have tortured her or something, or Krennic tortured her, and say, if you don't build the Death Star, we will kill her. So maybe it could have been used as another reason, just for the sake of having her there more and giving her more involvement. And I mean, obviously she would have died at some point anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. But maybe it could have been used as something to cause tension for Krennic and Galen. But that's just me. Sorry, I'm being very.
No, I mean, you bring up some good points. Yeah, that they could have done more with the character of Jin's mother. I agree with you. I mean, I liked her for the 2 or 3 minutes that she's on screen, but yeah,
she gets a gun out, so she's a tough old broad.
Right. I mean, she was very brave, very, very brave. So it was sad to see her go, but yeah, it could be argued she disappears too early.
Alan, I think we best to mention the young Jin as well, the one that plays young Jin. I thought she was very good for a child actor.
Yes, she was. She was. Again, my apologies that I don't remember the actress's name, but yes, the girl playing the young Jyn Erso, she was very good, and she brings a lot of good emotion to the part of Jyn for that first part of the movie. And yeah, she is indeed very, very good. I liked her a lot too. Yes, you're right. I will also mention. I mean, we'll get to Vader. We'll get to Vader in a moment, but there's another villain in the movie, and that's the character of Krennic. What's the actor's name? Do you know, Ollie?
I believe I've never seen any of his other work, but I found out his name is Ben Mendelsohn.
Thank you. Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn. Yeah, he's good. He's good. I liked him. I mean, he's a very sneaky, oily kind of character, and he's also, he's very, very full of himself. And
however, he's not the top dog.
Yeah, he's not the top dog. Yeah, that's right. And he seems to really, he wants to be the top dog. He wants all the credit for the Death Star. I mean, there's a great scene. I guess we'll be talking about the CGI Tarkin in a moment. But when he's talking to Tarkin, the late great Peter Cushing brought back to life through the magic of CGI. When Krennic's talking to Tarkin, the Death Star, it's my creation. It's it's my thing. I should.
Yeah.
You really get to see the man's character flaws.
Yeah.
And of course, there's that great scene on Mustafar where he goes to meet Vader, and he's even asking Darth Vader. He actually manages to piss off Darth Vader by saying, will I still get the credit for the Death Star? Am I still going to be in charge of the Death Star? And Vader finds giving him the Force chokehold for a moment. But yeah.
And also, there's that great line: "Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, director." I love that line. That is brilliant.
Yeah. Hey, Vader made a pun. How about that? But it works. It works. It really works. I mean, I like that. But yeah, I like Krennic. I think he's a suitable slime ball. He's a good villain. So I'm glad that he gets his just desserts by getting blown up along with our heroes
Yeah.
at the end. Ha
The
ha
only,
ha.
thing is, though, like he doesn't seem to recognize Jin until the very end of the movie.
Yeah, yeah. How about that? Because the last time he saw her, she was a little girl. So
Oh,
he had seen her when she was grown up. So I guess that's the explanation for that. But
hmm.
yeah, he's a good villain, is all things considered. Um, but of course, we also have to make mention of the appearance of Darth Vader, the one and only.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Now, some fans want to complain that Darth Vader's not in the movie enough,
Oh,
but
boo-hoo.
boo-hoo. I mean, the movie is not about Darth Vader, and we've already had a whole prequel trilogy that was all about him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it could have been better, but even so, we've had 3 movies to set the backstory. What more do you want?
I know, exactly. I mean, the main focus here is the Rogue One team and how they stole the Death Star plans. I mean,
And Krennic is the antagonist, not Vader.
right. I mean, Vader still has a role to play in it, but I mean, he's not the main focus here. He is a supporting player, so deal with that. He's only in 2 scenes, but they are great 2 scenes. They're a terrific pair of scenes.
I think it's enough. I think and it doesn't distract you from the main story.
That's right. That's right. I mean, the first scene where Krennic meets him on Mustafar, I thought that was very interesting. How, I mean, Vader decided to make his home on the volcano planet of Mustafar, even though that was the planet where Kenobi totally sliced and diced him in Episode
Yeah,
3.
I mean, it must be on the outskirts of it because I thought Mustafar burned and died over the lava fall, but then because the big control arm thing came off, so I thought the control base had all burnt, but obviously
Yeah,
it must have gone to the outskirts because there's a whole fortress that he's made for himself, or that the Emperor's given him to
yeah.
basically heal himself.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, and it looks like a castle of some sort, a really dark castle.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Lord of the Rings, the Tower of Isengard. Like
Yeah,
it reminded me of that for some reason.
yeah. No, you're right. It does look very similar to Tower of Isengard. Yes, you're right. You're right. And I just thought that was interesting that Vader would make that volcano planet his home, I guess.
I mean, I'm surprised that he doesn't have a doormat at the very beginning. Home sweet home.
Yeah, really. But yeah, when Krennic goes to see him and on Mustafar, and that first shot that we get of Vader, and he's basically sitting in the bath. This well, I mean, not the bath as you and I know it,
Yeah,
but if you saw Luke
yeah.
Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back when he's in that tube of water or something like that, I guess that's the bath.
Yeah,
In
I mean,
the
some people have said it that when we first see him, he looks a bit like Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, which I can kind of see. But yeah, I mean, I suppose he'd only be in a bath if he had a rubber ducky with him. So he does.
Yeah, really, but yeah, Vader chilling out in his Mustafar bath, and we see seeing what's left of him, because as we know, Kenobi sliced off his various appendages in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
So seeing that brief shot of Vader there was really cool. And then of course Vader gets out of the bath, and then we see him in all of his Darth Vader splendor, having it out with Krennic, and then giving Krennic the good old chokehold. Don't choke on your aspirations, Krennic. Yeah. Now, excuse me, going back to my bath. Yes. Yeah. But it's a great scene, and it is wonderful, of course, to hear the voice of James Earl Jones one more time with that classic.
Do you think he sounds older? Would you think he sounds relatively the same as he does in the other movies? Because I think I can notice his voice kind of changing slightly.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell that the James Earl Jones sounds older, and the truth is, I mean, he's now in his mid-80s. I mean, thank the Lord he's still with us, and he was able to do the voice one more time. But you can sense a little bit of age in his voice, but he pretty much sounds more or less the same as he always has, as Vader from the classic trilogy. And again,
I mean, the main thing is that you can tell it's the same guy, which it is.
yes, Yes, absolutely. It's the one and only James Earl Jones doing the voice as Vader, and again, probably for the last time, considering how James Earl Jones is in his mid 80s now, and I don't think there are any plans to do any more Star Wars films with Vader. But I'm grateful that that James Earl Jones got to do the voice one more time.
Yeah. I think for me, we've had enough of Vader. I mean, the prequels didn't turn out the best, and then the original trilogy and Rogue One are his legacy. So we've seen, well, in the original trilogy, we see everything that he did, and obviously,
Right.
you know, his story is complete in Return of the Jedi. Rogue
Yes.
One, it was great to include him. Just, I mean, yeah, okay, for fan service, but they made it great because that ending, my goodness me.
Oh yes, oh yes. The second scene with Vader, which is basically at the end of the movie. Yeah, everybody's talking about this scene, and rightfully so. Where basically the rebels are about to get away with the Death Star plans that the Rogue One team, bless their hearts, were able to steal. And we see these rebel soldiers in a hallway. The hallway goes dark. We hear Vader's heavy breathing, and then he lights up his lightsaber, and man, he starts going down that hallway and just slaughtering rebel soldiers left and right.
It's so intense. I mean, really dark, and also the screams of the rebels. It just made it so much more intense. You wouldn't get that in any of the original movies. Maybe The Empire Strikes Back, but
yeah. Because they said that, you know, even though we all know Darth Vader is a royal badass and probably the greatest villain in the history of cinema, we've never actually seen him, you know, really slaughter people before in a movie. So,
well, I mean, unless you want to count Revenge of the Sith when he kills the younglings, but that doesn't count because he's not really in the suit. He's just Anakin who's just become evil. So, I mean, it's still a powerful scene, but I suppose it doesn't have the same effect of like Rogue One when he's literally slaughtering all the rebels just for the fucking plans, you know, which he probably doesn't give a shit about, but he's just ordered to go and get them. So, yeah.
And mentioning killing the younglings in Revenge of the Sith, all of that happens off screen. So, as you say, it doesn't really count. Here we see it, where he's just annihilating all the soldiers in the hallway, just, you know, one after the other.
Yeah.
And it's a terrific scene. I mean, it's like you get the big, you know, violent scene with Darth Vader that you've always wanted with that one scene.
And then in the end, they escape, and the music blares up by Michael Giacchino, and then like the theme kicks in, and you can see in his, well, you can sort of see on his face, like behind the mask, he's probably like like inside.
Yes,
they got away.
Yes, after them, get after them. Yeah, that's probably what he was thinking.
Bring me my bath soap.
Yeah. No, it's a great shot. It's a great shot. And I guess all that's left for me to say is that I also think that the action scenes are fantastic. All of the action scenes, all the ground battle stuff, the space battles, so wonderfully put together. Of course, the big visual effect of bringing Peter Cushing to life as Tarkin. I know that's been a very big point of controversy for a lot of fans, but let's keep in mind that they did do it with the blessing of Peter Cushing's estate, and I think it was kind of cool to bring back Tarkin.
Yeah.
Go on.
And it makes sense with the story. He needs to be there.
He needs to be there. He needs to be there. I mean, again, this is the story that leads directly into A New Hope, so Tarkin has to be there. I know some other people have complained, well, maybe Tarkin didn't need to be there at all. I say yes, he does. It makes perfect sense to have Tarkin there. And even if the CGI technology is still not 100% perfect, I'd say it is at the very least 90%.
I mean, I was very surprised how good it was, actually. I mean, I think it's more impressive with Tarkin than Carrie Fisher, but that's, you know, that's different. I think, you know, they really did great. And whoever dubbed him did a good impression as well. It was almost like he was there. It was scary, actually, really scary, sort of seeing him there. But Like, it makes sense for the story because in A New Hope, he is the one who's calling the shots with the Death Star. He's the one in control. So, I mean, Vader's only just trying to get the plans, but he doesn't really care. Like he's slaughtering the rebels because he can, and then he wants the plans obviously so that the Death Star doesn't get destroyed, but he doesn't actually care about what it does. So Tarkin, like you said in your review, Tarkin is the one calling the shots. So if he wasn't in the movie, I would have found it very strange. But then again, they did have I suppose they had a trouble when they were in meetings trying to discuss how are we going to do Tarkin when Peter Cushing is dead. But lo and behold, they actually CGI an actor, and it worked wonders this time. I don't think they should do it again, but for this one movie, I think it works. And the Carrie Fisher one, I'm fine with it because it's only the last 10 seconds of the movie, so and it makes it much more sadder. I mean, I know some people have complained about Carrie Fisher's CGI as well, but I don't think they will now, will they?
No, definitely not now. And again, it's only for a few seconds, and it takes on a whole new poignancy in light of Carrie Fisher passing. And I didn't think it looked bad. It didn't look bad. And again, I think it was important to have Leia there in the closing moments of the movie. It makes perfect sense. And like I said, it was only brief. It was only for a brief moment, so I didn't mind it. And it was done with Carrie Fisher's blessing besides, so I'm okay with it.
And plus, it makes perfect sense with the story because you can watch Rogue One, then change disc, go straight to A New Hope, and it's like, oh wow, so everything that happened before was like 10 minutes before this. So it's like, it's literally.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I cannot wait to get Rogue One on DVD because you're absolutely right. You can do a double feature of Rogue One and A New Hope. Just watch them back to back. You know, put on Rogue One and then take a short intermission, you know, and then go into A New Hope. It's perfect. I mean, they link together perfectly, the two films. So that's another thing that I appreciate about Rogue One is that it links so perfectly with A New Hope.
It's also worth talking about the soundtrack, I think, as well, by Michael Giacchino.
Yeah, Michael Giacchino, this guy is all over the place. It's like he's doing like every other film score out there. I mean, he did the film score for Doctor Strange, which I thought was great. He's done film scores for some of the Pixar films. I mean, this guy is really getting around. I know he was a last-minute replacement. I don't remember the name of the guy who was going to do the music for Rogue One, but they let him go for some reason and brought in Michael Giacchino at the last minute, really. And I think he only had literally like 1 month to get the score written and recorded, just one single month to get it all done.
Oh, my God.
He did it. And some people don't like the score, but I thought he did a really good job. I mean, obviously, he's not John Williams. John Williams would have done something different, but I think what Giacchino did was really good and had a very, very good Star Wars flavor to it.
And it was definitely homaging John Williams' music.
Yeah. And he also had the good sense to bring back some of the classic John Williams bits where necessary. I mean, you can't have Darth Vader walking into a scene without hearing dun 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 dun. So obviously that had to come back.
Yeah, I mean, and they had the Force theme as well, or the family theme. But the new themes he comes up with are really good.
Yes, sprinkle it in where it's necessary. But for the original stuff that he wrote, I thought it was a very dynamic score. And I thought it did feel very Star Wars-esque, and for me it worked. So for people complaining, well, he didn't come up with anything you can hum. Is that really truly?
Well, you say that, people, but I've been humming the Jyn Erso theme for a couple of days.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've always felt, about film scores is that a film score, a really good one, can definitely enrich a movie. But, the film score is not the main reason why I go to see the film.
Yeah.
So the music for the film, I mean, for me, that's extra. That's an extra.
I mean, it helps. It creates atmosphere. I mean, I love hearing film scores. It's really sort of the main music I listen to. So I'm always listening for the film scores. And obviously this one was to be very interesting. But it's not for me. It's not the be all and end all of films. I go to see the film as well, but the score is just like you say, a part of the movie. I mean, in this case, the score is very important because of Star Wars has a history for being a huge score.
Yeah.
John Williams. Well.
Yeah, if you can come up with a really classic film score, like when John Williams came up with the classic film score for the original Star Wars film, and that's only one example of many, it definitely enhances the film, and it makes you want to go out and buy the soundtrack album, of course. But as I've always said, the music that's in a film is extra. As long as the film score isn't terrible and doesn't detract, it doesn't really matter to me whether or not you can hum it. It doesn't matter to me whether or not I want to go out and buy the soundtrack album, as long as the music is good.
And fitting to the movie. Like with this movie, the ending, the climax, when they all die, and then Vader's bit as well, it all fits really well, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't know if I personally would buy the soundtrack album for Rogue One, but what I will say for Michael Giacchino is that he came up with a very good, solid film score that, in my opinion, fits the film just fine. I don't give a shit that I can't really hum anything to it. I don't care.
Or at least not the parts that you already know, like Vader's theme and the Force theme, or whatever you want to call it. Also, it's worthy to note that John Williams obviously won't be around forever, which is a shame because he's amazing. But it's nice to know that they've got somebody else to do a Star Wars score should the time come. I mean, I hope John Williams will be around for as long as he can. I know he's scoring episodes 8 and 9, so that'll be great. But obviously for the spin-offs, I don't think he will be scoring them. He's also very old now, so he will want to take some time out. So it's good that they can call Michael Giacchino to sort of be the next one in line to score Star Wars. I mean, the guy will do other work as well, but even so, I mean, they might get composers. They might get someone else. Who knows? Maybe they're trying to experiment with different people. But probably why they got rid of the other guy.
That's right. No, I thought Giacchino did a good job. Like I said, I mean, I don't buy the soundtrack albums for every single movie that I see. All that I ask is that the film score be good and that it serves the film. And if it just so happens to be a really great score, well, that's bonus. That's definitely a wonderful bonus. But all things considered, I thought Giacchino did a really good job and came up with a really good, solid score for the movie that works. And I enjoy listening to it every single time I see the film. So I thought he did a good job, and that's good enough for me. That's all I ask for in a film score.
Yeah, even though he didn't do the end credits theme, of course, because they used that in all of the other movies. So
they had to use the classic John Williams music for the end credits. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah. Actually, one thing before you wrap up, you must mention that the film doesn't open with an opening crawl as well.
That's right. And I think that's perfectly understandable. Because again, I mean, this is a movie that could work as a standalone film as well as a prequel. It's not a part of the main saga, even though Vader appears in it and Princess Leia appears at the very end. But it's telling the story of a group of characters that we're not going to see ever again. So for that reason alone, it's a standalone film, and therefore one way to make sure that audiences know that this is a standalone film is to not put the opening crawl. We still see a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then we hear this bump, and then we immediately we're in space. And the movie ends, and then later on, after a few minutes of movie, then we get the opening titles that say Rogue One. And I think that's fine. I think for this movie that's perfectly fine. It makes perfect sense. And that's probably how they're going to do it for the other standalone films, like the Han Solo standalone film and the other standalone film they've got planned. But that's fine.
Yeah. So will they all be titled like Han Solo, a Star Wars story then, or like something like that?
Yeah, like I said, that young Han Solo movie is a big question mark. And like I said, it's not an important movie to me, but Disney think otherwise. They want to make it. And, I wish them all the best with it, but I guess that's a wait and see movie. I can't really make heads or tails right now about a young
Yeah,
Han Solo
I'm
movie.
waiting for a trailer before I make any judgment. But I mean, first and foremost, we have episode 8, so yeah.
That's right. That's right. Episode 8 coming this Christmas. Looking forward to it very, very much. But yeah, Rogue One as a standalone film, I think works perfectly fine, and it makes sense to me that they left out the crawl, so it would stand
Yeah,
apart.
because essentially the whole movie is cruel.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so because it's about how they stole the Death Star plans. So yeah, you're probably right about that. But yeah, the action scenes are terrific. The space battles are terrific. I did care about these characters. I was very surprised to see that not a single one of them survived. But again, I think
Even
Bryce
Jin,
Hall.
even Jin didn't survive either, which was the biggest surprise.
Yeah, yeah, but again, you have to think about that. The fact is, we don't see these characters in any of these succeeding Star Wars movies, and I guess there's really only one logical explanation for that. Only one,
Mm.
which is that none of them made it. But as I said in my review of the film, I think I can live with it, and I think other fans, because these characters, they did not die in vain. They accomplished the mission, even though it came at the cost of their lives, but nonetheless they accomplished the mission. Even as they were being killed one by one, they managed to stay one step ahead of the bad guys and get the plans of the Death Star to the princess. I did think it was interesting how they managed to do it, because I always envisioned Jyn Erso like literally handing the plans to the princess, and that's not how they did it. They basically uploaded the plans to the rebels and got the
Yeah,
plans from that way through the magic of uploading.
yeah, like file transfer, and also it was a nice touch the fact that Galen titled the file Stardust as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
That's what brings it all home for me. The fact that he titled it Stardust, so that everything he did for her, and he meant well by that, because she would know, obviously. And when they have to climb to get the plans as well, it's a real struggle to actually get them as well, which I think,
yeah.
which I appreciated actually really a lot.
I did. Yes, no, that was really well done. I mean, it's important to notice. I mean, they do actually steal the plans. They have to steal the plans from a certain place and take it to another place before they can upload the rebels. So there was still the that plan of actually getting to the plans, stealing them, and then going to another place to upload them. But the fact of the matter is that they none of them died in vain. They got the mission accomplished. They all deserve our respect. And as I said in my review, they may have gone down, but they all went down standing up. And,
Yeah, I mean, there will be no medals. There will be no medals.
right, but they accomplished the mission. I mean, that they turned it all around, and we, the audience, know that they accomplished the mission and turned it all around for the good, for the rebels to take out that Death Star. In the next movie. So we, the audience, know what the Rogue One team accomplished, and we definitely salute them. Absolutely. So all things considered, I mean, I think Rogue One really, really works a treat. I mean, this is a movie that could have gone very badly if it wasn't handled right. But again, I thought the writing was solid, the direction was solid, the acting was solid. All the action scenes and the visual effects were really top notch. It told a very compelling story, even though we know at the end that the plans will be stolen. The excitement is seeing how they did it, and how big a price these characters paid to get the job done. So I think it's a very, very compelling story. I think it's a marvelous addition to the Star Wars franchise. And even though we won't be seeing these characters anymore, unless they decide to do a prequel with Jyn Erso, but I doubt it. I think these characters, they made their one film truly count, and I think I will be more than happy to watch their big adventure in Rogue One again and again in the years to come. So I really love Rogue One.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you. I'm definitely going to go and watch it again.
Oh yeah, I'm going to go see it tonight. By the way, folks, I'm going to go see it again tonight with a couple of people who haven't seen the film yet. So
Yay!
I'll share the experience with them, which I'm really looking forward to. So I think that speaks volumes about what a great accomplishment Rogue One is. It's not the greatest Star Wars film of the bunch, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be. I think it's definitely the best of the
Yeah.
prequels. I think I mean that alone is an accomplishment. That it's the best of the prequels.
It wasn't hard to beat the three others.
but still, it was great to see, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really great to see. It's a wonderful addition to the franchise, a wonderful link up to A New Hope. And again, it'll make a great double feature with A New Hope. If you've got both DVDs, you can put on Rogue One, take a break, and then put on A New Hope.
I think doing a prequel would be very unnecessary, to be honest. I mean, you could watch the prequels, then Rogue One, then if you watch Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, A New Hope, I think it would work out quite nicely.
Yeah, that would. I think we're in agreement that Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, you can skip those and just go straight to Revenge of the Sith. Watch anything from the prequel trilogy. Revenge of the Sith will do just fine. And then watch Rogue One and A New Hope. I mean, right there, that's a great trilogy, those three. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One. 3 till 7, like watching episode 3 to episode 7, which will include Rogue One. So watching all that to The Force Awakens, it will be very interesting, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I totally agree. Yeah. So I really love Rogue One, and I think it's a terrific addition to the Star Wars franchise, and I'm going to give it a rating of 9 out of 10.
Oh, brilliant! Oh, it's gone up then.
Yeah, it's gone up a bit. Yeah. I've enjoyed it more and more the more that I've seen it. So I'm bumping it 9 out of 10.
But in terms of how you rank the movies, that's still the same.
Yeah, ranking it, I would say Rogue One for me personally is the 4th best of the Star Wars films. We've gotten 8 of them so far. I would say it's the 4th best. A New Hope, I think, will always be my personal favorite, followed by Empire Strikes Back. It may be a bit controversial to put The Force Awakens in 3rd place, but I can't deny the fact that I really, really love The Force Awakens. Really
no, that's fine. You know, you should never feel apologetic or controversial for expressing an opinion. You know,
I know, but I just have this thing that I don't want to offend anybody, even though I have no control over that. But everybody's different. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I would place Force Awakens 3rd, followed by Rogue One. And again, as I've always said, I do like Return of the Jedi. Please don't misunderstand me. I do like Return of the Jedi, so I put that one in 5th, and then comes the prequel trilogy. Revenge of the Sith would be 6th, Attack of the Clones 7th, and then Phantom Menace at the bottom in 8th place. So for me, Rogue One is the 4th best of the Star Wars films.
It's halfway up the list, which I would agree with, actually.
Yeah. So that alone is quite an accomplishment, I think. So yeah, a solid 9 out of 10 from me for Rogue One.
Brilliant. Well, there's nobody else here, so I guess it's me.
Go for it.
I haven't had a reply from anybody else, so yeah, fuck it. Rogue One. I wasn't really sure how I felt about this when the trailers were coming out, because initially I wasn't that hyped. I think The Force Awakens was overhyped. I mean, I still like it. It is a good movie. I really do enjoy The Force Awakens. It's a lot of fun. But I think I was kind of Star Wars'd out for a little bit. And then the trailers came on, and I was like, okay, this looks interesting. I'll go and see it. I was a bit confused why it was called Rogue One, a Star Wars story, but I mean, it makes perfect sense now. And then, like, the second trailer came out, and I started to become a little bit more interested. And like you, the movie really surprised me. I did not expect it to be as good as it was. I was expecting something decent, at least something better than the prequels, but nothing amazing. I was very wrong. Also because Gareth Edwards was directing the movie, and I wasn't a fan of Godzilla, so that was kind of a skepticism. But it just goes to show I shouldn't really have judged Gareth Edwards before seeing this movie, but
Yeah.
I thought he did a marvelous job. Rogue One is the Star Wars movie we've been waiting for. It's the one that says basically, this is how the rebels stole the Death Star plans. You want to see it? You want to see it? Well, here it is. It's like, oh, brilliant. It wasn't quite how I imagined it to be, but I think that was great. Like I said, it surprised me, and I like the fact that this particular installment, obviously as it being a spin-off, it's deviating from the Skywalkers and focusing on the Ursos, even though we do have Darth Vader in the movie, but only in brief. I like Jyn Erso. I think she's a very good protagonist. In regards to comparisons to Rey, I don't really know how I compare them. I suppose Rey will end up being the more favoured one, as we will see more of her. But I thought Jyn Erso was a very strong character for what she was, and seeing her sort of go through all of that emotional drama with her father, the relationship with her father was very, very well done, I thought. And like you said, Mads Mikkelsen playing a good guy was actually surprisingly good, and it worked well for a change, because he does. I mean, Mads Mikkelsen, for me anyway, he's a good actor, but he has kind of an intense face. So I wasn't sure how well it was going to work him playing a good guy, but he does a really good job, and you can definitely see there's an element of fear in his eyes. He's definitely scared to the point of feeling like shit. The fact that he could, die if he doesn't do this. He's doing it to protect his daughter. So there's a lot of heart in that. So like Krennic is sort of twisting his arm in that sense. So I thought that was all very good. And Jyn Erso sort of being the one who really, sparked the rebellion essentially. Motivated them to basically go and capture the plans and fight to destroy the Death Star. So essentially, she is the driving force for everything that happens in the original trilogy. So I appreciated that. I think you could definitely say the film's weakest aspect are the characters, the supporting characters anyway. They're just not really very interesting, which is a shame. I mean, some of them are, but some of them aren't. Like Cassian Andor, he's a good character. He has a very interesting mission, to kill Galen. I don't particularly know why, but maybe the Rebel Alliance just aren't aware that Galen's in a situation that he's can't get out of.
I think all the rebels know is that he's working for the Empire. So, but they don't realize that he's working for them against his will. That's I don't know. Yeah. Yeah,
because Cassian doesn't realize that until they talk about the message, the holographic message that Saw Gerrera shows them, which so that was interesting. It created a nice bit of tension between the characters. And other than that, there weren't really many other characters that I cared about. I mean, K2SO, yes, he was very funny. He provided some good comedy. And it was sad to see him die as well. I mean, all of them, but I'll get to the end of the movie in a bit. Donnie Yen was a very interesting character. I mean, obsessed with the Force much, but, I thought the fact that he was blind was very interesting. Something no different. Literally, you could remove them too, and nothing else would have happened. They don't really do anything. The only thing they do actually is activate the master switch. That's all they do, really, in the course of this movie. So Gareth Edwards, I don't know what happened there. They were just kind of unnecessary. The pilot is okay. He doesn't really have much screen presence, I don't think. The actor's just a bit stiff. Like, he's a bit better towards the end, but again, doesn't do much till the end, so he's just kind of there. The scene with him and the octopus was a bit strange. I think Saw Gerrera is a good character and had the potential to be somebody really intimidating and threatening, being an extremist. And I like the sort of the physical look of him. He's sort of damaged and sort of worn out.
He's been through wars, apparently.
Yes, yeah. Apparently, he was in the Clone Wars, so if I suppose I better watch that if I want to know more about his character. But as for this movie, he just doesn't do much, and it would have been nice to see more of him. But you know, oh well, it's what it is. It doesn't affect the movie too much, but he seemed like a very important character. He's like a surrogate father to Jin, and he's an extremist, so. I mean, his death is just like, he just kind of accepts death. It's like, oh, okay, you know, fair enough.
I won't run anymore. Save the future, save the dream.
Save the rebellion, save the dream. on his little inhaler. But yeah, I mean, the scene with the octopus kind of, like I said earlier, it kind of jarred me. I was like, hang on, is this guy a good guy or a bad guy? It was very hard to tell. But obviously they reveal him as a good guy, sort of, or even though he's sort of an extremist, he is mostly a good guy, but in his own way. Again, it's just underdeveloped. It just needed, like you said, needed about, you know, another 10 minutes or so just to flesh out those supporting characters a little bit more. I mean, I suppose the one thing you could say about Donnie Yen and the big guy is that they do have a good friendship. I do admire their friendship. They're called like the guardians of something or other. I think the two of them. Yeah. I can't.
You can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, when Donnie Yen dies, it's a very tragic scene, and then he gets up. The big guy gets up and starts, you know, firing as well, and he sort of starts to trust in the Force. We should say, you know, I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me. You know. Right. I wonder who that guy is. He's such a big fella. Like, I want to know who that actor is. You know, whether he's done anymore. Because I thought I recognised him, but I must be seeing things.
Too, but I can't quite place where.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm trying to think who he is. But that aside, the movie is grittier. It's darker, like you said. The wars is definitely there in Star Wars. But it's not without its light moments. Like I say, Kate Winslet has a lot of comedy. But this film is darker, you know, intentionally and more gritty for that, and it works better for that. I think it's not meant to be the funniest Star Wars film, just little flickers of comedy here and there. And also, they do mention the line, well, half of this line, and they say, "I've got a bad feeling about this," and then they go, "Just shut up, Kate." Yeah, they have to do it in every film.
It's a tradition, Star Wars tradition.
Yeah, although they only had half the line this time, so they are improving.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. The movie for me is just very exciting. I mean, I will say this, the first 20 to 30 minutes were a little bit slow. It did take its time, but once it got going, when they got to Jeddah, it got really, really good. Like everything, you know, some people who don't like movies say, oh, the ending's the only good bit, but no, I think everything before that is great. I mean, the first 20 minutes are a bit rocky, but there's still enough in there to enjoy. I just like the journey of Jin and the rebels and how they just sort of recruit her to help.
You know, I know that they've said, and I agree that the first part of the movie, there's a lot of planet hopping. We're going from planet to planet to planet to planet. But I still think that there's more than enough entertaining stuff happening as we go from planet to planet to planet, so I didn't mind that.
Yeah. There was also that guy as well who, the spy that Cassian was speaking to as well, and then he just killed him at the end. He just killed him.
Yeah.
I thought that was a bit of a pointless scene, but I suppose, well, in the sense of his character just being killed, but I suppose he gave him the information that he needed. Right. Yeah, and I mean, the movie is great fun. It romps along. It has a lot of heartfelt moments, like particularly the scene with the message in the hologram. That really sort of moved me, I must say. Like Felicity Jones' performance there was fantastic, and and Mads Mikkelsen as well. And I like that he calls her Stardust. I think that's very sweet, and it's you know,
me too. Yeah,
and the fact that he also names the file of the plans Stardust just shows how much he cares about his daughter, and the fact that even though he had to kind of abandon her or tell her to run away, that he never stopped thinking about her. It was always for her. He only did it. He only did all of this in the hope that one day he would come back to her, you know, knowing that he'd saved her life. So I think it's a very noble sentiment, and it really makes Galen a hero, I think, you know, because he essentially sacrificed himself for something he didn't want to do for his daughter to live. So you got to really give props to the guy. I mean, he's a broken man. He lost his wife, then his daughter was on the run for years. Obviously, Saul Guerrero raised her, but even so, I think it's very touching, and it's something that Star Wars and sometimes does really well more than other movies. It's like a soap opera in space, and the whole family thing works really well. Even though this is a different family, I still think it's brilliantly touching. And obviously, the scene on Edu when the base blows up and then he dies before her, I thought that was a bit abrupt, but you know, it works enough. I just think there should have been a longer conversation before he just suddenly dies, because all he says is, "I have so much to tell you," and then he just dies. You know, she's like, you know, I saw the message. Like they could have lengthened that scene out. You know, he could have said, you know, "Oh, I'm so proud of you. You did all that. You've survived all this time without me, and you know, finish the mission. You know, finish it, destroy the base." Like he should just a few more lines just to lengthen it out, just to hold out the emotion.
Yeah, I agree with that. That would have been nice.
I mean, I know I'm being very picky, but I just think that it was a missed opportunity. But for what it was worth, the scene was still powerful enough. You know, death was still satisfying enough because you know Galen's story and you know how far he's gone. And then when they're escaping, the music is flaring up, and you know it's getting quite emotional, and you know the great Michael Giacchino theme is playing the da 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 da, like as they're leaving. So it's you know, it's quite a sad moment for that, really. And then there's that great tense scene afterwards when she's like, "You lied," she says to Cassian, you know, "You lied to me," and all of that. So there's all that drama going on. There's enough drama to keep you going. I don't understand why people don't like this movie. Like, they just think, "Oh, it's boring, nothing happens." Well, a lot happens, actually.
Yeah.
A fair amount happens, you know.
I hear the criticisms of Rogue One. It's like my bullshit detector goes off. You know, bullshit.
That's the bullshit detector.
Yeah, I don't understand their criticisms. I really, really don't. I just don't get it. How some fans have been kind of mean to this movie.
Yeah. Also, I want to say one other scene that really surprised me was the scene on Edu when Krennic goes to the base, and then he's like, "One of you betrayed the Empire. You know, which one of you was it? I want you to step forward now." And then none of them do, and he's like, "Very well, it's a group effort. Then take aim." And you know, in any other movie, they would have just waited. They wouldn't have said it was a group effort. Like it was. I thought that was quite smart that the screenwriters did there. It was quite clever. And then obviously Galen revealing himself, and then he slaps him across the face, and he goes down. This movie is really well shot as well. The camera work is just amazing. Like the cinematography looks superb. Like even when I saw the trailer, the opening scene looks fantastic. It looks so much more crisper than any other Star Wars movies.
It looks
come out so far. Sorry, I thought you were saying something.
No, I was just saying I agree with you. Yeah, the photography on it is amazing. I mean, I've seen the film both in 2D and 3D, and either way that you see the film, I mean, the cinematography is it's great, sweeping, really epic stuff. And the film is quite enjoyable in either 2D or 3D, I might add.
Yeah. Also, because there are some shots like close-ups of X-wings flying around, like POV shots, as if you're in the X-wing.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool. So yeah, and the action sequences are fantastic. They really are. I think they're just epic. Like the market scene in Jeddah when that blows up, that's all very interesting.
Yeah.
When Jin saves the little girl as well, that was cool. If that was young Anakin, he would have died. Uh,
Yeah.
then you've got all this stuff on Edu. That was very good.
Yeah.
With the
The
X-wings coming.
walkers, the walkers. When you see the walkers on the beach,
Yes, and obviously the
that's
best,
impressive.
yeah, the best action set piece is the final battle on Scarif on the beach.
Yeah.
And the attack walkers come back, and boy, do they come back! They make quite an appearance, and they are responsible for the death of, well, most of the rebels there. Uh, and I like how Donnie Yen's character and the big guy are using stealth to sort of take out the stormtroopers, whereas all the other rebels are they go in all guns blazing. Um, it's just proper gritty warfare. Like there's no expense spared. There's no little fairy teddy bears. You know, there's no fucking Gungans. There's no slapstick buffoonery. It is proper war. You know, none of this teddy bear shit. None of this Gungan, you know, fishy thing. You know, it's all real. And I want to say to Gareth Edwards that I take my hat off to him. I appreciate that it was all real. You know, and you know, Star Wars needed something like that. I mean, I liked all the action in Force Awakens as well, but I think this took it further because you know it was it was more gritty. I mean, it was just different. And obviously, the film's climax is just fantastic when they all die. It's just so moving, so touching, because you know that they've gone to such great lengths to find these plans and, well, transfer them up to the ship.
Right.
I mean, when you hear the line "Rogue One, may the Force be with you," you know that's it. They're all gonna die. And I love the scene on the beach when Jin and Cassian are hugging, and he says to her, "Your father would have been proud." That just brings the whole film together. I think it brings it all, wraps it up nicely.
It
And
does.
I think, you know, she's very brave. I'd say Jin's very brave. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's definitely another quality about her to greatly admire. And there's no doubt that her father would have been very, very proud of her. Absolutely. And by the way, I wanted to point out something else. I think in A New Hope, or maybe it's in Return of the Jedi, when we see the X-wing fighters going into battle against the Empire, they refer to themselves as Rogue Squadron, and it's been said that they call themselves Rogue Squadron in tribute to Rogue One, and that makes sense to me. Do you think that's the reason that they're paying?
I would like to think that, yes, and I think that would be a very excellent homage to Rogue One, and the people, obviously the rebels who died on Scarif.
Yes,
They,
absolutely, yeah,
I mean, it's just beautiful, and then the music to accompany it is very good. And then, I mean, just when you think the film is going to end, it goes into that scene with Darth Vader.
oh, yeah.
Oh God, it took me by surprise. I did not see that coming. I really didn't. And then later at the end, I was like, wow, I did not expect that either. That was just amazing. It leads so perfectly into A New Hope. Literally, like you could, you know, like you say, you can marathon the two films, and it would be like a Lord of the Rings extended edition. You just switch over the discs, and you're watching
Yeah.
the second part. It's amazing.
Because it's like A New Hope begins like 10 minutes after Rogue One ends.
Yeah, and you know that was what Gareth Edwards said in interviews. He was like, "We want people to watch Rogue One and then want to watch A New Hope afterwards." So, because it all goes back to this original film. Because Gareth Edwards is, well, he's in love with the original film. It was like his favorite film. So, and that really shows. With regards to Vader, like you, I don't give a fuck that he's only in 4 minutes of the movie. I don't care. You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck off, fans, because basically, Vader's, Well, that's uh,
Woo!
yeah. Basically, fans, fuck off because Vader Vader's legacy was in
Yeah.
the original trilogy, and he did. You see everything that he could do there. What more
Yeah.
could they have shown? I mean, I thought the lightsaber bit at the end was enough for us. Sorry about that. For some reason, the call just cancelled on me.
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, but I'm back.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, as I was saying, fans, fuck off because Vader, as I said, his legacy was in the original trilogy. You could see everything that he did there and the effect that it had.
I mean,
Um,
his main story has already been told.
yeah,
Really.
and then they tried to tell the backstory in the prequels, and that fucked up. So, what more do you want? For God's sake,
Yeah.
what more do you want? What more does George Lucas have to throw at you? You know,
Yeah.
if you want good old classic Star Wars, you got his story there. If you want masturbatory CGI
Yeah.
green screen
Yeah.
effects, then go to the prequels. Or if you just want 4 minutes of good, awesome scenes, then Rogue One. What more do you want? I just don't
Yeah.
get it. But
Yeah, and I think we're in agreement that when it comes to the Death Star itself, it's Tarkin who's calling all the shots, not Vader. So to put more Vader in Rogue One, I mean, what's he going to do? He's just going to, he's just going to walk around the Death Star, twiddling his thumbs, walking around the Death Star and looking at a readout here and a readout there, but he's not really
yeah,
going to be doing anything.
I mean,
You
as
know?
you said in your review, he says in The New Hope, "Do not be so proud of this technical terror you've constructed." And
Yeah, yeah,
And in Rogue One, he says to Krennic, its power to create problems has certainly been confirmed. So he doesn't give a crap. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's the Death Star is not important to him. It's important to Tarkin, but it's not important to Vader. You know.
And, he's only going to get the plans, for Tarkin, really.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But other than that, yeah, he doesn't give a shit about the Death Star. It's not important to him. You know.
I mean, that particular scene with Krennic that he has, I think, is fantastic when he goes to Mustafar, or at least I'd like to think it's Mustafar. I mean, it's never explicitly stated. They name all the other planets, but they don't name that one, which I find a bit bizarre. But we'll just call it Mustafar.
Go ahead. I call
Yeah.
it Mustafar.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great scene. Like when he's trying to convince Vader of its remarkable potential, and then he's just not having any of it. And then, like you say, he manages to come across as an arrogant prick and pissed off Vader when he says, "Oh, so I'm still in charge. Then I'll be taking full responsibility." And he's like, and then he chokes him with the Force, and he's like, "Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, director," which is such a good line.
It's a great line. Yeah, yeah. Like,
and then Krennic falling to the floor and then looking over and is like really feeling scared.
yeah.
Even the villains are scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously the end of the movie when he's slaughtering the rebels, which is a great bit of lightsaber action. I'm glad that Vader got to use his lightsaber at least once in this movie, and it was really just an awesome ending. Like it couldn't have been better.
Yeah.
Because
It was a great moment. Awesome moment.
Oh yeah, and then as the ship flies away, the music comes in from Michael Giacchino, and then you see Vader just standing there, like looking like, oh, for fuck's sake, we've lost the plans. Shit. I mean, whilst the movie ends on a sad note because they all die, I mean, it ends on a kind of positive note because you know what's going to happen. You know that it will all lead to destroying the Empire in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
And you know that Princess Leia has the plans now. So right, this puts us in our A New Hope starting positions, Ren. So it's very satisfying. More so than I think anybody expected. Gareth Edwards does a great job directing this movie. he definitely keeps it fun, entertaining. You know, it never drags. Well, it does in the first 20 minutes, but not so much that it becomes unwatchable. Not like the prequels.
Not at all.
Like it's really just building up. Like it takes a while to build up, but when it gets going, it moves, and particularly the third act as well, which is all out war, and then people and everyone dies. It's something that's really really powerful. And you know, I think it's a terrific movie. It really is, and there's some nice references as well. Like you've got C3PO and R2D2 who make a cameo as well. That was quite nice. Also, Jimmy Smits returns in this movie for some bizarre reason. I don't know why, but yeah, he's in this movie.
Oh, it was nice to have him there. Yeah, I have to admit. I mean, he was never my favorite cast member in the Star Wars universe. I didn't think he was given anything particularly good to do in the prequel trilogy. But here in Rogue One, he's not bad. So it's nice to see him.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, he's there for like the briefing, and then you're like, okay, I suppose it makes sense to have him there.
Yeah.
And as he does look older, it does make sense in terms of continuity. I mean, but yeah, he didn't really get much to do in the prequels. He was in Attack of the Clones for like one scene, I think, or two scenes, and then he was in Revenge of the Sith for the second half for some more. But again, they just kind of threw him in there. He didn't do much, but you know, it makes sense.
Well, that and the fact that he was working with really crappy dialogue. What dialogue he was given in the prequels.
Yeah, my wife and I, we always wanted to adopt a baby girl.
Yeah. I didn't like the dialogue he was given in the prequels, but for the screen time he has in Rogue One, he has some cool stuff to say, like his reference to Ben Kenobi.
Yes.
Like, I know someone, who's helped me, and or whatever that line is. And then I think his last line about I would trust her with my life, which I guess is obviously a reference to Leia. That was cool.
Yeah, I think he said something about Clone Wars, so I thought, okay, Obi-Wan is definitely referenced there, I would imagine, because they spend more time together in Revenge of the Sith after when Anakin kills all the Jedi.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, he says his last line. I mean, we know he's heading back to Alderaan. It's like, no, don't go back to Alderaan, man. Don't go back to Alderaan.
Because in about, a few days, you'll get killed.
Yeah.
It's weird saying it like that.
Yeah, too bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, in the prequels, he was, it was a shame that, George Lucas had to fuck around, but fuck you, George. I mean, no, I should be more respectful. George Lucas gave us Star Wars, but
yeah, that he did.
I mean, getting back to Rogue One, I think Krennic is a good character. I like Orson Krennic, and he's so determined to prove to everyone that this, planet-killing machine is worthy, but nobody's convinced. Although when Tarkin is convinced, he tries to claim it for his own, which kind of makes sense, really, when you think about it, because Krennic will die at the end. So, obviously, Tarkin is then able to call the shots after the events of this movie, which is in A New Hope. So he can just sort of take it over. So that was a nice bit of foreshadowing, I suppose. I mean, and I thought the CGI was fine. I mean, there was no other way you could do it, and the character was so crucial to the story that having another actor there would have been disrespectful and also very unconvincing, I feel. The Leia scene I thought was fine as well, like they're adding that in as well, and also, R.I.P. Carrie Fisher. It's very sad that what's happened to her. But yeah, it was nice to see him kind of get his comeuppance and then face off with Jyn at the end. And she says, "Oh, I'm the daughter of Galen Erso," and something like that. And so that was nice. The final confrontation, and then he saw the planet being destroyed and knew he was going to die as well. Yeah, I mean, and the film has great visual effects and CGI, and it's only used when necessary, George. When necessary.
That's
is it the best Star Wars movie? No, I don't think it is. it misses the mark with characters. It struggles to develop the new characters, or it just doesn't bother because we don't see them again. Kind of a shame in one way and a relief in another. I mean, it's definitely got its fair share of moments. It's quite charming and fun, but it's more gritty. It kind of makes me appreciate The Empire Strikes Back a bit more, which I've now put as my favorite Star Wars movie. So Rogue One made me appreciate that a bit more. I still hold the classic trilogy over this because all three of them I think are just timeless. Yes, even Return of the Jedi. Despite the little teddy bears, I still think the third movie is awesome. Well, the sixth movie, I should say, is because it's now a saga. But yeah, Rogue One is almost up there with the original trilogy. The music score by Michael Giacchino, I feel, is good. It's solid. Obviously, I mean, no one can ever truly replace John Williams, but I thought for what the time he had and what he came up with, it was pretty good. Nice to hear some of the old themes as well in there. It won't go down as a classic, obviously, the soundtrack, but it fits with the movie and it does a good job. And there are some moving pieces of music that help with the emotional scenes. Michael Giacchino is very good at writing, composing emotional music, like particularly with stuff like Inside Out or like the Pixar stuff. He does a great job with that. Would you agree?
Oh, he did the score for Inside Out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was wonderful. Wonderful music.
Oh, yeah, that soundtrack is a masterpiece. I mean, obviously, this isn't anywhere near on par with that, but he also did there's a Star Trek reboot scores as well. I think it's worth mentioning as well.
Oh, actually, I think we should mention. I think he did the music for Star Trek Beyond,
and the first two as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the amount of work this guy gets is just amazing.
and he can say now on his CV he'll have Star Wars and Star Trek. So
I know.
What an achievement!
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, good for him. I'm happy for his success. He's a very talented dude.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much more I can really add about Rogue One. I mean, I think in terms of the opening crawl, I mean, I read about it before I saw the movie, so I was prepared. So it wasn't like I wasn't spending the whole of the opening thinking about the opening crawl. So I knew it wasn't going to be there. But I mean, it was kind of jarring at first to have that long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then dun, we're straight into space. I was like, oh, okay, this is a bit strange. But, I've seen the movie about 4 times now, so I'm used to it, and it works. I think in this case it benefits from the opening crawl. One, without the opening crawl. One, because it's a darker movie, and secondly, it's a spin-off movie, and they wanted to intentionally deviate from the Skywalker saga. And I think it kind of works, just being thrown straight in, and then, after Saw Gerrera rescues Jyn, the title Rogue One just appears. I think, okay, it works. In this instance, for the spin-offs, it will work. It'll be fine. I can live without it. It's not a major problem. It's not. It doesn't affect the movie. But I know some people are going to be pissed off about it. So I mean, as you can see, Rogue One it's a very impressive movie. It's definitely divided the fans, which is rather unfortunate. But I still think it's a great Star Wars movie, and I put it at number 4 out of 8 in my rankings. That's halfway there.
Me too. We agree.
I know that we have different opinions on Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. However, I would like it to be noted that I do still enjoy The Force Awakens. I gave it a solid 8 out of 10. I thought it was a good, solid movie. But again, it was just lack of originality and the over-reliance on nostalgia and the Starkiller base. But those aren't major problems, but they are problems. So which is why I prefer Rogue One, because it's a bit more original. But I understand why you love The Force Awakens.
Right.
Because it reminds you so much of that original film and that experience when you were a kid. So I suppose, I can understand your feelings, but me personally, I just prefer Rogue One. But
Yeah, yeah.
Opinions. I mean, both
And
of them kicked the shit out of the prequels, so we can agree that. You know,
easily.
I think George Lucas should have bared in mind. I think the studio should have said to him, George, when he was making the prequels, George, be careful not to choke on your aspirations.
Yeah. Or be careful not to choke on your CGI aspirations.
Just be careful not to choke, because somebody might strangle you for making those prequels.
Yeah, exactly. I just think he put way too much emphasis on the visual effects and not enough emphasis on his writing or direction.
Yeah, and all of that political shit didn't help either.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the kids aren't going to understand any of that stuff. They're going to be bored out of their minds, and so were we. And I was bored.
I mean, I understand you have to do a certain amount of world building, which is fair enough, but as I've said before, about the Phantom Menace especially, I don't give a fuck who signs what treaty. Just give me a Star Wars movie. I don't want to see people fight over fucking taxation. I want to have like a space battle fighting over something else. If the Queen wants to sign over our land, let her do it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. I mean, even Jack said that when we talked about the Phantom Menace. It's like, hey, this is supposed to be Star Wars, This is, what's all this political shit for?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to know that Rogue One doesn't have to rely on that. It just basically relies on a simple story. This is basically the Death Star. This is who built it. This is his daughter, and this is how they get the plans. That's it.
Right.
Not all of this. Oh, the trade deficits of Naboo. The Queen wants to sign a treaty. I want a vote of no confidence, or attack the clones. Where I truly, deeply love you.
Love you.
God's sake. Thank God. I mean, although it's worth mentioning that Jyn and Cassian sort of I thought they were sparking a brief romance towards the end.
I think by the end there was definitely romance there when they finally hug each other in that big embrace just before they die. So I think and I appreciate that. I'm glad that they had that romantic moment just before the end.
Especially on the beach as well. I mean, it makes up for Attack of the Clones, particularly.
Oh, easily.
I mean, Attack of the Clones had a scene in the picnic, which was all done in front of a green screen. Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. George, come on, man.
Yeah. I think I think the thing about the prequels is that we were haunted by the scripts that he never should have given us.
Yeah, I know. I mean, look, you're absolutely right. I mean, we owe George Lucas our respect because he's the man who created Star Wars. He gave the world Star Wars. That first film, which he did direct himself, is a classic. He also did other great movies like American Graffiti and THX 1138. But I'm just saying, that when he did the prequels, I think the guy just really lost his way artistically and focused too much on the visual effects and not enough on the writing or direction. I think that's all we're trying to say in our dislike of the prequels. That,
exactly. Yeah,
he didn't really know what he was doing. Really, did the prequels. He concentrated too much on the CGI visual effects.
Then again, you could argue that George Lucas didn't really know what he was doing with A New Hope, and it kind of just came together. Rather well, actually, very well. In fact,
yeah, everything kind of fell into place. I mean, the script for A New Hope isn't the greatest script ever written, but it's a far better script than anything that was in the prequels. He got really, really lucky with this cast. I mean, he got the perfect cast who knew exactly what they were doing in the acting department. To put these characters across and to put this script across with a lot of real emotion.
I mean, to get Alec Guinness as well. I mean, that's impressive.
The fact that he got Alec Guinness, the fact that he got Peter Cushing, and he got these newcomers, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher, rest her soul, who were all wonderfully talented and were perfectly cast. The visual effects for their time were amazing. He got John Williams to do the classic score. It's like everything, you're right, everything just fell into place when he did that first Star Wars movie.
Basically, like the cast has said, well, he's not really known for giving detailed direction. He was basically like, okay, if you stand there, basically, this is what's happening. Give me the performance. That's pretty much it. He's not a director. He's basically just someone who says, do it like this. This is I think how you should do it. Just do that. You know, not
Yeah,
not not
I
not.
read, I
You know,
read
this is
something
how you should
that
feel. This is what's happening. You know, he's like, do this. You know, that's it.
yeah, just the most basic of basic directions. Or they say that if George Lucas has you do another take, he might say, okay, do it again, only do it a little bit faster, or do it again, or do it a little bit slower, and that's it. That's how he directs. He says he leaves the acting to the actors. So
Well, yeah, the prequels are a prime example of that. I mean, obviously the script didn't help, but I mean, he probably said mostly to Hayden Christensen when he did this awful monologue. You know, oh, you know, I wish I could wish away my feelings for you, Padme. He's like, yep, good, good. Roll again.
yeah, but the point being that he got super lucky when he did that first film because he got the right cast who knew exactly what they were doing, and they delivered the goods. They really did.
I mean, I think Gareth Edwards has pulled a relatively unknown cast together. Obviously, a few familiar faces like Felicity Jones is fairly well known. Diego Luna, I think, is kind of well known.
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen, of
Matt
course.
Nicholson, James Earl Jones, but the others are like, I mean, Donnie Yen, obviously, I suppose, but the others, like, I don't really know who the hell they are. I've never seen them before.
Yeah, I agree. I wish I remembered their names. I'm sorry, I don't,
Yeah.
but I like what they did. I
Yeah.
thought they
Well,
did
actually, except
was
Forrest Whitaker, he's well
Forrest
known.
Whitaker. Yeah,
Yeah. But
that
yeah, no, I mean, I better wrap up. Back to Rogue One. So, in conclusion, I really like it. I'm going to rate Rogue One a 9 out of 10. I think it's very good. I think at first it was going to be an 8, but then the ending really bumped it up for me. It's very good, and I've enjoyed it more each time I've seen it. I've seen it about 4 times now, and I'm kind of hoping to go back one more time just to see it. So I might
yeah
do that on Sunday. I might go back one more time just to,
yeah
and
yeah
then yeah, because I want to show my support for this movie. It's I want it to get to 1 billion. I want it to do really well. It deserves it. I know it won't do as well as The Force Awakens, but you know, it would be nice to know that this movie is being recognized by the fans, and you know that they're appreciating this movie because it's
yeah.
very good and it deserves the appreciation.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, it obviously won't do the business of The Force Awakens, but I mean, here in the States, it looks like it'll finish its theatrical run with over 500 million in the bank. And even though that doesn't compare to the over 900 million that Force Awakens did, I mean, over 500 mil, man. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, that's a big, huge success, especially for a standalone Star Wars movie. That was definitely a gamble to
Mm.
make, and I think it's a gamble that definitely paid off, and it deserves its success. It's a good film. It's a darn good film.
Yeah, I think it was better than, well, certainly most people thought it was going to be. So, like, because I mean, the trailers show something that's pretty good, but obviously they leave the best bits out of the trailer, which I was really happy about. The trailer didn't mislead me at all, so I'm glad about that.
Yeah. You know something? I don't think we can conclude this hangout without mentioning, Ollie, that that a lot of stuff. I mean, it is well known that they did some reshoots for Rogue One, so a lot of the stuff that we saw in the trailers didn't actually make it into the movie. Quite a few shots. But I think it goes to show that reshoots are not necessarily a bad thing because the finished product turned out really, really good. Just for one example, there was a shot of Jyn Erso and Captain Endor like running on the beach. They've got the plans and they're running on the beach, and the walkers are firing upon them, and we don't actually see that bit in the finished film. Instead, in the finished film, they're in a place that's not unlike the Death Star, and they're stealing the plans from there. And it still wound up being a really great action-packed scene and with great visuals and atmosphere. I'm actually glad that they took out the line where Jyn Erso said in the trailer, well, this is a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel. And they cut that from the movie. And I'm glad they cut that from the movie because it wasn't necessarily the greatest line. And
Yeah,
realized it
So
wasn't the line.
Donnie Yen's line they cut out as well when he's like, "Take hold of this moment." Like, I thought the delivery was weird, and it didn't suit. I knew which scene it was going to be in, but it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah,
It would have been too cheesy. Take hold of this moment.
yeah, exactly.
What's the
And
song?
exactly. There are many other examples. I'll just name one other example to keep it short. But there was one scene like towards the end of the movie when we see Jyn Erso high atop the tower, and in the trailer we see a TIE fighter come up to meet her, and we don't see the TIE fighter come up to meet her in the finished film. Instead, Krennic comes up to meet her. But for whatever the reasons that Gareth Edwards had the reshoots done, I think it was all for the greater good of the film. Because again, the finished film is damn good. So whatever reshoots he felt were necessary, that's fine with me.
Yeah. Also, would the score have been composed around the times just after the reshoots? Because, like you said, they had someone else for the score, but then they, for whatever reason, let go of that person, or that person left the project. So,
So it
Michael
might have
Giacchino was
been.
hired then.
Yeah, Ollie, it might have been because of the reshoots. Maybe because they would have needed this composer to come back and redo the score for the reshot scenes, and maybe he couldn't come back, and maybe that was the reason why they scrapped his score altogether and had Michael Giacchino score the whole thing from scratch. I mean, this is only a theory of mine, but it seems to make sense. Maybe that's.
I think it's a logical explanation for whatever would have happened for Rogue One.
Right. Makes sense to me, but that may have been how it went down.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we're both pretty much in agreement with this one. We both like it very much, and just a very obviously because it's only one film we've talked about, and there's only two of us. Is there anything you want to say briefly about the forthcoming movies like Episode 8 and the Han Solo spin-off?
I'll start off about the Han Solo spinoff. Like I said, I mean, I've got a whole lot of questions about it. I personally don't think it was necessary to do a young Han Solo movie, but they think it's necessary to do a young Han Solo movie. So okay, I'll give it a chance. I'll certainly be open-minded about it. I've heard that we're also going to see a young Lando Calrissian in the young Han Solo movie, so it's nice to see the character of Lando come back, even though it won't be Billy D. Williams, obviously. And obviously it won't be Harrison Ford playing Han Solo. It'll be a different actor. I forget the actor's name. Sorry. But
I'm just going to look it up for you now.
Yeah, okay. I'll give it a chance. I'll definitely give the movie a chance. I'm not going to be closed-minded. I will give it a chance, and I will go see it. I'm a Star Wars fan, so I have to go see it. But I think all I can hope for is that it's as good as Rogue One. If it's as good as Rogue One, being another standalone Star Wars movie.
Oh, actually, hang on a minute. It's Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah, he's got a funny name.
Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo and Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. Funny enough, the movie's got Emilia Clarke in it and Woody Harrelson, and the directors are Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, and the writers are Lawrence Kasdan, George Lucas, and John Kasdan, although George Lucas is only for the characters. John Kasdan and Lawrence Kasdan are doing the screenplay. So with any luck, it will be good, but I'm not sure about the directors. I think those two they're known for comedies. So I don't know if they're the right people to direct Star Wars, but we'll see.
Right. I'm just going to take it on faith that the reason why they're going forward with this young Han Solo movie is because they've come up with a really, really good script. They've come up with a really, really good action adventure for young Han, and so I'm going to take that leap of faith as a fan and go, okay, bring it on. I will go see it, and hopefully it'll be a worthy addition to the Star Wars franchise rather than a misfire. So
I mean, I hope that the guy that they've cast, well, I'm not going to repeat his name. I hope that the guy does at least give a good performance. He obviously won't be as good as Harrison Ford, but as long as he tries, then I'm happy. I'm not expecting him to. I mean, I mean,
Yeah,
well done on him for getting the role. So I'm
that's
just
right.
worried that the direction isn't going to be as strong. But again, we'll see.
Right. I just hope that the movie is good enough that it justifies its existence. you know.
Yeah, because it could easily come across as a cash grab.
Right. Right. So I'll keep an open mind, and we shall see. I guess in Christmas of 2018 if it was worth it or not.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
So
Uh,
are they just releasing them every Christmas until 2020?
I think so because The Force Awakens did so spectacularly well as a December release, and now Rogue One has done really really well in December. So yeah, they're gonna stick to the holidays. I think from
And
this
there's
point on.
nothing else. There's no Christmas movies that come out now as well. So yeah,
That's right. And I think, and just the fact that the kids are out of school during the holidays, and more people are going to the movies, and it's definitely a wonderful time to make money off your films. So, and it worked for Force Awakens, it worked for Rogue One. So yeah, let's stick to it. So they're going to keep it a holiday release.
yeah.
All the future Star Wars films. So that leaves Star Wars Episode 8. Well, I'm definitely excited to see Episode 8, as I loved Episode 7, The Force Awakens, so very much. Keeping in mind that it will be a bittersweet film because it will be the final film with Carrie Fisher as Leia, but nonetheless, I'm looking forward to seeing her for the last time, sadly, as Leia, and I'm also
Mm,
looking forward to seeing where the new characters of Rey and Finn and Kylo Ren go, and I'm
mm,
also curious to see what Rey's relationship with Luke Skywalker will be, because that's where The Force Awakens ends, is that
mm.
Rey finds Luke Skywalker, and
I
then
mean,
that's it.
first of all, Rian Johnson has actually said that's going to be the main focus of the movie, Ray and Luke's relationship. Also, do you have any theories on that? A lot of people are thinking, obviously, that she's Luke's daughter, which I think is probably the most obvious one. But I don't know if they will go down that road. I think they might, but I'm not sure. What do you think?
She could be Luke's long lost daughter. It's possible. I mean, the fact that she is Force sensitive, I mean, she definitely has powers with the Force, so it makes perfect sense, I suppose. Um, I mean, that's definitely one way they could easily go, but then again, they might have another story arc up their sleeves that we don't know about. But it would make sense. I would just say it would definitely make sense if she and Luke were related
Yeah,
somehow. Um,
that way also she's related to Kylo Ren. They'd be cousins.
could be. Yeah, I mean, after all, the Star Wars saga, it's mainly a family thing anyway. Even George Lucas has said as much, that it's the story of a family. At least the main saga is the story of a family. The Skywalker clan.
Yeah,
Um, so it would make sense with
yeah.
that outline that George Lucas had in mind, that it's about a family. Um, so it's possible, and we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how Luke trains Rey and what their relationship would be like, and also looking forward to the story arc of Kylo Ren. I mean, being that this is the middle part of the trilogy, this could be the movie of this new trilogy where Kylo Ren will actually get the upper hand over Rey. I mean, I would hate to see Kylo Ren slice off one of Rey's limbs. That would be terrible. I don't think Rey will be killed. I think she's definitely going to stay on through the whole trilogy, and I want her to stay on through the
Yeah.
whole trilogy. But again, this is the middle chapter of this new trilogy, so it could be that Kylo Ren and the First Order, or the New Order, they get the upper hand in this one. It remains to be seen,
Yeah.
but it's all very exciting stuff.
I
I'm
think
also
Luke is probably going to train her or get her to teach her the ways of the Force, kind of like how Yoda taught him in The Empire Strikes Back. So it might be a bit reminiscent of that. I'm hoping it's not going to be so much like that. Otherwise, it will be a direct rip-off. But I don't think
right,
they'll go that
right,
way. I mean, if they are, father and daughter, then there'll be questions raised like, why did he abandon her on Jakku and all of that stuff. I mean,
Right.
it's really hard to predict what's going to happen, but I think there's definitely going to be a lot of time with just those two. So
Right.
I wonder. I mean, Rian Johnson said, rather than the next movie cutting back years after, they're going to go straight away after The Force Awakens to Episode 8. So Episode 8 will start directly after Episode 7.
Right. Because yeah, Luke Skywalker appeared in The Force Awakens, but only in the closing seconds of the film, and he doesn't say anything. So Episode 8 really is the film for Luke Skywalker to get back into the action and be an active character in the story again. And yeah, he's definitely going to take on the Yoda or the Ben Kenobi part in relationship with Rey, and seeing how he trains her, and also he's going to find out that his old buddy Han Solo has been killed. So seeing Luke's reaction to that, I expect will be pretty heartbreaking when he discovers the news about his friend Han. And there's also the I'm back again. Ollie? Ollie, you there? Hold on.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. You there? All right.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay.
For the reason you left the call.
Yeah, we got dropped again somehow. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. But
no, that's all right. You were saying about Han Solo.
Yeah, I mean, Luke's going to find out about the death of his friend Han. There's also the possibility of seeing him and Leia reunite in Episode 8
for the last time.
Yeah, for the last time. Yeah, sadly. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what part Luke's going to play in this. How Rey, how she's going to evolve in this story. How Kylo Ren evolves as a villain in this story. Where the conflict between the Resistance and the First Order go. Also, the character, I guess the main villain now is Snoke, the character of Snoke.
Yeah.
And what they do with his character in Episode 8. So it's all pretty exciting stuff. I mean, it amazes me that the film, for all intents and purposes, has already been shot, except for the post-production stuff that they're still doing right now with the visual effects and all. We should get to see the first trailer for the movie, I would think, in the next couple of months, because I think the first trailer for Rogue One was released in March or April of last year, I think.
Something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was definitely around that time.
Yeah, so there should be a trailer in March or April, I would think, for Episode 8.
The Force Awakens, I remember coming out. The first trailer was out, I think, around March 2015 as well.
Yeah, so we should see the first teaser trailer for it very, very soon, I would think. So I'm excited to see Episode 8 very much and see where the new trilogy goes, as I'm very excited by this new trilogy. And yeah, that's coming this Christmas, so bring it on.
I have a prediction that possibly they might, well, I don't know whether they will kill off Luke, but Luke will train Rey and probably Finn to fight Kylo Ren, because they'll by some miracle they will confront him again. Maybe not so much in Episode 8, maybe in Episode 9. Maybe it'll be like Empire Strikes Back when they confront him again, but they fail, or something will be revealed. Like maybe Snoke. Maybe they have to confront Snoke or something. I mean, that's probably where it will lead. But a lot of people have their theories about Snoke. I like to think he's a new character. A lot of people have said, "Oh, he's Darth Plagueis," when I don't believe that. One thing, because they say in Revenge of the Sith that Plagueis was killed by Palpatine. So how does that work? How would that work? How would he possibly be Plagueis? Like, what's your theory on it?
About Snoke.
Yeah.
Oh dear, I don't know. I mean, He's a very interesting character. I know some people were thrown by his very first appearance, in Force Awakens, because we see him and he's literally a giant. And I know some people were thinking, "Oh my God, now they have giants in Star Wars." But then it turned out that it was just a giant holographic projection of the character. He wasn't really a giant. And it turns out he appears to be actually a very small character. So maybe he was compensating with that giant hologram in some way. But he's a very interesting character, and I know we've got the very talented Andy Serkis doing the voice of him.
And the motion capture performance.
And the capture performance. And as you know, he was Gollum in Lord of the Rings, needless to say. So he's a fascinating character. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see where he goes, what information we find out about him. Although, obviously, we're not going to get the final confrontation with Snoke until episode 9. But again,
no.
Whatever they reveal about him in episode 8, I'm really excited to learn about.
I have a feeling that perhaps, I mean, this probably is wrong, but that he might be a heir of Palpatine. So maybe he's like Palpatine's son or a relative of Palpatine's that has taken over. Maybe Palpatine had another secret apprentice.
It's possible. I mean, he could be related to the Emperor somehow. I mean, it's possible. Yes, it's very, very possible. So we shall see.
Yes, I mean, we can't really say much about episode 9 until we've really watched episode 8. So
that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, well, unless there's anything else you want to quickly say.
No, I think we've pretty much covered it, my friend. But yeah, Rogue One is an awesome film, and bring on episode 8 this Christmas.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, thank you everybody for watching this reflection on Rogue One. Sorry that the other two couldn't be here with us. I don't know why that is. Jack never replied to me, so he's either forgotten or he's out. And the other one, Harry, is having trouble technically. So if needs be, I can do a separate one with them. But I want to thank Alan for coming on board and being the only guest today. So
thank you. It was a great pleasure.
And yeah, stay tuned next year when we will reflect on episode 8. So until Star Wars fans, see you around.